Hi, Fernanda.
Hi, Shireen.
Hi.
Hello.
Fantastic to meet you, Fernanda.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and thanks again, Shireen, for the invite. It's always a pleasure to be part of your community and be able to share a little bit about one of our passion topics, which is sustainability. So I'll go ahead and share my screen for us to get
Please
started.
do. Please
Yeah.
do. You always keep us up to date. You go around the world. You have
Mhm.
all the updates for sustainability. So it's impressive
Yes.
to learn from you.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm excited to share because what I'll be bringing on today is some snippets from from a couple of surveys that were out. So I'm excited to share with you at firsthand. So let's talk about, how to build a supply chain sustainability mandate. When what is a mandate? So this is what I prepared for today. So I'll just give an overview of what is ASM, who is ASCM for those that are not familiar with us. A little bit about, is sustainability still a trend? We hear so much about different things, countries divesting, moving away from Paris Agreement. So is sustainability still relevant? And I have some good news on that front. Then we'll talk about building a sustainability mandate. What is a sustainability mandate? First of all, how are companies transforming their operations under a sustainability mandate and how to get started. And then I'll be taking Q&A questions at the end of the session. So for those of you not familiar with us, who is ASCM, so we are the largest nonprofit supply chain professional association with over 50,000 members worldwide. We have over 100 global training partners across the globe. Symbios, which Shereen is one of our great partners in a region and globally as well. Some of you are more familiar maybe with the APEX acronym. So we were founded as APEX back in 1957. But in 2019, we rebranded to ASCM. So APEX became a brand within the association, which is ASCM, the Association for Supply Chain Management. So you'll be hearing about APEX certification. So it is a brand. So this involves CPIM, CSCP, CLTD, and all the great international certifications you're familiar with. And I often get asked, so why did we change to APEX to ASCM? And the reason is that APEX actually is an acronym for American Production Inventory Control Society. And we're not American anymore. We are a global association with footprint all over the globe. I'm actually based out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I didn't get to share that in advance. But we are truly a global association now, and we're pleased to have representation all over the world, in Egypt, in the Middle East, in Saudi. So we're super excited. We are signatories of the United Nations Global Compact, so we do have a strong sustainability advocacy stream. So we believe that supply chain professionals need to be educated, need to be aware that every decision that they make in their supply chain will impact both positively or negatively in the supply chain operations. So this is us. Also wanted just to share a little bit how our body of knowledge is leveraged. Just a reminder, because I often get this type of question as well, is the ASM content applicable to a certain industry? And the answer is yes. So the supply chain body of knowledge, it is horizontal. It involves different industries, so it doesn't matter where you are in consumer goods, if you are in technology. The body of knowledge of supply chain is horizontal. It's actually how you apply that body of knowledge into your supply chain that will generate the innovation and growth. So don't be shied away that you think that you're from a different industry. The ASM body of knowledge is not applicable to you. So let's start on our topic today. And I wanted to bring some of the data for us to reflect on whether or not sustainability is still a trend. As I was mentioning, we've seen countries, sign moving away from Paris Agreement, divesting from sustainability initiatives. We don't see a lot of buzzwords into sustainability, lots of pledges anymore. So what is happening? Is sustainability still a trend? And I'm happy to share, that even though sustainability kind of became silent, not so much as a PR as, like we've seen a couple of years ago, but it's true, it still has strong signs that it's still alive and very much alive. And I wanted to bring you some important data from this recent Morgan Stanley annual sustainability survey. You have a link there when this presentation is done. You have those slides, so feel free to read the survey. It is encouraging. So I just wanted to bring 4 key takeaways just for us to see how sustainability is still alive. So the first thing that caught our attention is that it is still perceived as a value creation initiative. So 80% of the companies that were surveyed on the Morgan Stanley survey, they saw sustainability as a value driver. Some of them, the majority of them, saw meeting or exceeding their delivering expectations. So yes, so for the majority of companies surveyed, sustainability was still perceived as a value creation. So yes, from a corporate standpoint, yes, companies are still seeing sustainability as relevant. They also see that investments are still high, and we know, but they pay off eventually. 24% cited high investment needs is a top barrier, because we know, especially when we talk about maybe energy transition and all needs to be done to change the supply chain. So it is a high investment, but 80% are able to quantify the return on investment on sustainability related CapEx, which is what's missing. We need to see more cases of ROI and sustainability. And I think that the trend is more and more as companies are deploying investments and are seeing the return, they will start coming out and saying, yes, we invest in sustainability and this is how much we've seen out as a payoff. So I think this is something for us to observe. Also, the majority of the corporation survey, they all reported climate events that disrupted their business. 57% of the firms said, yes, my business was disrupted by some climate event change. The majority of those companies are based in Asia, in the APAC region. And we can relate to this, right? We were just talking about Indonesia. We know Southeast Asia has been impacted with hurricanes, earthquakes, everything, floods, mudslides, things related to climate change as well. So their persons have been impacted. And also the majority feels that they need to increase their resilience. So, it's a given. Sooner or later, you'll be impacted, and resilience must be in place to make sure that you will be able to survive, to break and not to bend, but not to break. You will be able to bounce back for those climate disruptions. And also profitability, cost, and technology. 25% says that there is gains in sustainability opportunity, but cost is still the biggest challenge. And we all can relate to this, right? And this is kind of related on topic number 2 as well. But as we think that, as technology gets cheaper, innovation gets cheaper, so it will be a trend for us to see more and more cost and technology being less of a barrier, less of a challenge for us to start thinking about how we can become more sustainable. So this is what I wanted to share. And now, given that we are at the Middle East, North Africa region, I wanted to share their perspective specific to your region. When you go into the report, you see there's a zoom into every region. So this is for Middle East and North Africa. So the majority of the companies in the region saw, again, that sustainability is a major value creation opportunity. It's actually the highest in the globe, which is cool. You can see my region, Latin America, was not that much, but it's really nice to see that in the region. So everyone is still on board that, yes, sustainability will drive value. Also, a large number, 78% of the companies surveyed in the region saw climate-related impacts as well when we compare to other regions. So they reported, and 64% of the companies in the region also saw some damage on the physical assets, could be manufacturing plants, trucks, whatever assets. Sustainability in terms of progress, 40% of the companies in the region said, yes, there's still room for improvement. So there's something in place, but needs to get improvements. Just 14% said, yes, it's above what I was thinking. So I think it's also a good indication that there's lots that can be done. And again, the opportunity is for the companies in the region will be to have access to low cost of capital, because you're a sustainable company, you may have access to lowest cost of capital, and the challenge is still the pricing in the economies of scale. So I think if we were to summarize, this slide is yes, in the MENA region, there is appetite for sustainability, and yes, there's room for improvement. I think this is the two major takeaways that we can see, and I think we're in a good place now, all of you as supply chain professionals, to start to think what are the little things that could be done in your supply chain. Next thing I wanted to move, it's another set of survey that we did with Gartner that relates to how to build a sustainability mandate. And I will elaborate on this on the following slides. So what is a sustainability mandate? So, so they're defined, for definition purposes in the paper, and then we'll be relating to these on the following slides, that a sustainability mandate is an organization that considers sustainability as a strategic priority. So we're talking about companies that have that under their strategy, that has money, has funding to be investing on that strategy, that has leadership, sponsor, and buy-in to make these things happen. Because, if we don't have a top-down support specifically for sustainability, bottoms up will do, little to get things done. And has an organizational appetite overall to achieve the sustainability goals. So it is, if you think about, there used to be unicorns in the past, more and more we're seeing companies that have that sustainability mandate. And we wanted to observe under this survey that was led between ASCM and Gartner, how did these companies operate? What are the benefits they're seeing? This is what I'll be sharing on the next slides. And again, you see the link for the survey here, and you can download, you can see it all. It's a super nice survey as well. But the biggest thing that strikes us when we have, like an overall takeaway is that the big obstacle for sustainability is not just cost. We know cost is a barrier. We have indication of this, but it's also inertia. And what is inertia? So inertia is how do I get things moving? Is how do I start? It's like a paralysis. So it is something that when we talk to supply chain professionals and sustainability professionals, and we all know it's a huge problem. Sustainability is a huge field, and it requires sponsorship, funding, strategy, all things at a complex level. But it's all about how do I move? How do I get started as well? So this was something that we had that sense as professionals talking to the people, and we just got the confirmation through that survey with Gartner. So moving a little bit over the next slide, I'll just share a couple of topics of interest, and you're free to download the full survey. But talking about inertia, the 3 top challenges to implement environmental sustainability in the supply chain, according to the survey, the number 1 is the scale of change required to the end-to-end supply chain. So yes, when we just paralyzed, right? Just to think, how am I to re-envision a new supply chain under my company that will be resilient, that will be closer to my customers, will be in a region which is not climate fragile, because it will be again impacted by climate change. So it is a vast, and so this is one of the major barriers. When people look at the size of the scale of the change to require end-to-end change in the supply chain, people stop. And so I think this is when we talk about inertia. So it's one of those things, you paralyze. It's like you wanting to, change the wheels of a car while it's still running. So it's kind of, yes, so I have a supply chain that is still running. It is not sustainable. I cannot change it now because it runs the way it is. We'll just deal with it. So this is one of the barriers when we look at the full reports for companies not to be doing a bigger change. The second one would be data availability and reliable. So you don't really know what's going on. That also links here to limited transparency and visibility. So you can't really assess, you don't really know where are your risk nodes, where your operations could be more sustainable. You don't have the data, you don't know your suppliers, you don't even know where to start from. So these two are related. And then the third one is also related to the first one, because the current supply chain network footprint, which now everything is global. So it's not just, we're doing something at a domestic level, but also at a global level. So this is, yeah, so there is a cost, but there is our inertia because of the complexity of the problem as well. So this came up in the survey as well. So, and then there are the other topics related to regulation. So we don't know, we moved from one country to another or to one type of operation to another, then comes a regulation that may break it. So this is also a barrier. I mentioned transparency and visibility. You don't know what you don't know because you can't assess your supply chain. And then the lack of business case, like you don't have a business case, a strategic orientation for you to start it. So this graph summarizes the barriers for entry, and we are seeing it's also on the inertia side that brings into all the complexity for the changes. The other interesting data point that we saw for companies that have that sustainability mandate, they are sustainability oriented versus the ones that are not. Companies that have that mandate, they're better prepared to ESG regulation. This was a data point that came out from the survey as well. So regardless of where they are, when it comes new requirements from legislation or governance, they have things already in place. They know where to place new mechanisms of control if legislation or other governance comes up. So they're better prepared compared to the other ones that don't have a sustainability strategy or sustainability mandate in place. And the other thing that came up, and this is, of course, ASCM as a supply chain professional association, that came up as an interest for us as well, is that employees, they tend to stay longer and engaged in companies that have a sustainability mandate. And this is important when we're talking about managing talent, retaining talent, and having, the right people that we want to keep in our organizations. Companies that have that mandate, that are sustainable, that employees see that they want to give back. They're not just companies operating just out of pure. I'm not going to say pure profit. Of course, we need to operate on profit, but has the sustainability strategy embedding as an enabler for profit as well. These talents, they will stay longer. And this is something interesting as well when we see, especially the newer generations, who doesn't want to work in a company that does good for the environment, for the planet, right? I think it all gives us a sense of purpose to be putting our energy and our work in something that we know is giving back. So this is something that came up on the survey as well. And I think we can all relate to that. So what is the blueprint? How do these companies do? How did they get started? So this is what I want to explore on the next slide. There's a couple of things that came up from the survey. First, in terms of strategic, how they use their strategy, how they're organized to be able to say, yes, I have a sustainability mandate. Then what are the concrete actions? Because it's not just about having a written sustainability strategy in place, but what are the things that are getting done? And then the third pillar, which is the connectivity with the market space and with your employees. How do you communicate this? How do you get connected to all of these, to suppliers, to customer, to your own talent, to be able to make sure that everything is being communicated well and retro feedback from the market space. So this would be the three pillars we'll be examining moving forward. So when we talk about strategic alignments that enables prioritization, so companies that have a sustainability mandate, they are easier to win when you have a trade-off between a sustainability objective and another competing priorities, because we all know, right, sustainability is here, but then we have all these other things that we need to prioritize and that are top of mind, and that is also a huge trend, like data digitization, resilience, automation and AI, talent and workforce development. So all of these things are also a priority. And if you're not familiar, we have a top 10 trends for the year in 2026. All of these came up, so we know these things are on the top of the agenda of the supply chain professional. Then you have sustainability here. What we see through the survey is that companies with a strategic mandate that have sustainability truly embedded on their strategy, when there's a trade-off, do I need to invest in a sustainability initiative or AI 23% of these companies, they keep to the prioritization. So sustainability wouldn't lose out in a trade-off decision between sustainability and other priorities. And no mandate companies, yes, sustainability will likely lose. And I even thought that the number was low because what we see is that competing priorities often take a place in sustainability when it comes to prioritization, to a trade-off, to a decision-making. So it is good to know that companies that have that mandate are sticking to their strategy, are sticking to their goals, and not losing to the trade-offs for the other competing priorities. And this is something we need to manage, right? Whether or not we have a mandate or we don't have a sustainability mandate, we'll always have priorities and the trade-offs. We need to be balanced, but always, keeping in mind the ROI and how and where to stick to. So it's good to see that when we have companies with that strategic mandate, we are sticking to the plan and meeting the sustainability goals. And then talking about concrete actions, material things that are happening in those companies. So we divided on the survey between actions to optimize existing process and new that will transform processes. So there's a list of things that companies are actually doing now. The majority of them are looking to sustainable transportation, so maybe different types of vehicle or transportation modes of changing from roads to trains or to ocean freight or abolishing air freight. So they're looking to sustainable transportation of some sort. Energy efficiency initiatives, companies with the mandate, they're high on this as well. Package improvements, how do you source different materials, not virgin materials, how to bring recyclables, how to do circular supply chain that will be fitting into your packaging improvements. So all of these things are being implemented. Also sourcing and procurement requirements, a lot on responsible sourcing, sustainable sourcing. Where am I sourcing from? The distance between your suppliers and your plans for transformation. So all of these things are taken into consideration. And supply engagement. How do you bring your suppliers on board sustainability? How do you bring them along to help you meet your goals, especially when we talk about the materials that they're using, GHG emissions, if the company reports and accounts for GHG emissions. So it's super important to have supply engagement. So these are the top things that companies with a sustainability mandate and not with a sustainability mandate are looking for to bring it into their own practice. When we look into transform, and this is it's more of the bigger things to change, we're looking to a lot into renewables. So how do we bring some renewable into the equation? This brings not only a reduction on your electricity bill, but also if you report on GHG emissions, scope 2. So this is super important, scopes 1 and 2. Collaboration, product and service design. So we're starting from scratch products that are now more sustainable with the right materials, thinking about circularity, how do I bring this product back, and how do I avoid this product and the end of life going to the landfill. So all of these things are being thought of as well in terms of product and service design. Industry collaboration, this is an interesting one because we see that companies with the sustainability mandate is slightly lower than the ones without a mandate. My take on this is that those with the mandate are trying to see how they can learn from each other. I think they're falling behind. They're kind of the laggers. So they need to look back to industry collaboration to try to get out of inertia. And then product take-back programs to recover and repurpose materials is another big one that companies are looking into, because then we're talking about the types of materials we'll be using again when repurposing, remanufacturing products, not letting things go to the landfill. So these are the top actions I wanted to bring to share with you what companies are doing when we talk about those initiatives to bring additional sustainability into the supply chain. And I wanted to end this part of my presentation with a quote from General Mills, from the Senior Director of Supply Chain Transformation, that sustainability is a space where there's so much desire to do, but there's a huge lack of understanding of how to do. And I think this may resonate with most of us here, right? So again, where do I start? I can't boil the ocean. Sustainability is huge. So where do I start? And I want to spend time on the next slides on trying to help out how we can help you start. So moving from inertia. So how do I move away from inertia, right? What are the little things I could be doing at least to get us started in increasing sustainability in my supply chain? So the first thing I want to bring up is the assessment. So we've been seeing more and more that the assessments or diagnostic tools, they have been a trend in the market space now from the past, maybe 2 years ago. We've seen a lot. We've seen assessments from Gartner, assessments from Deloitte. Everything's about maturity assessment. And this has been proven to be a good way to at least give some sort of direction, to give you like a compass. Where do I start? So why spend time investing in a sustainability maturity assessment? So first, I think it gives you, and it's good to know what you don't know. So it gives you a state of your as is state. It's a picture of your supply chain. So at least will give you some visibility at a high level where you are in terms of sustainability. When you know where you are, you know your maturity levels in different areas of the supply of your sustainability in the supply chain. It will help you focus resources on the lowest maturity or on the things that you think they're important to your company, that are part of the strategy of your company. So it will kind of guide you where you are on the different areas. It will actually give you a baseline, like a starting point for you to advance, to move forward, and then you're able to track progression over time. So, yes, I started here in 2025. It will give you a baseline for progression. And, by knowing the different things that you don't have in your supply chain, you help you anticipate for risk related to climate change, to regulations that you maybe are not compliant with, supplier practices, reputational damage. So this may get you, a heads up that this may be coming towards your way. And if your company is aligned to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, then it's also a good thing because the assessment, it is linked to the SDGs, so it gives you also an idea how you are in terms of alignment with the SDGs as well. So this is something we've been seeing companies engage in more and more because it is a great initial first step. And I wanted to talk about more how we can help you given that initial first step. So it is a free qualitative self-assessment when we talk about our supply chain sustainability assessment, and all of our assessments, by the way. So it was developed by ASCM, powered by the SCORE model, which is the industry standard, and also our sustainability standards in alignment with the SDGs. So we did not recreate the wheel. We took off, 3 major standards: SCORE, our sustainability standard, and the SDGs to come up with a tool to help you get started in assessing your sustainability in the supply chain. So it will give you a top level view, again, to help you spot what are the areas of low maturities and where should you focus on the transformation efforts. It covers the triple bottom line. So we have an aspect on people in profit, which is the value generation, and the environment as well. And I have a slide that will show you what is the scope of the assessment. And at the end, you get a formal output briefing with findings, with scores on those areas. What is the suggested next steps? So it will actually give you a roadmap and where your maturity stands on those areas. So these are the areas that are focused on the assessment. So as I mentioned, we cover the people part of it, and we'll be looking to human rights and labor practice, anti-corruption, codes of conduct, wage, training, and education in child labor. So this is the classic ethical and social excellence aspects that we have in sustainability. Also, the classic one, the standard. So we all want to know energy consumption, water, waste management, the GHG gas emissions, product life cycle, circular supply chain management. These are the classic aspects that we see when we talk about environmental sustainability. Then there's the supply chain portion of it, which makes this assessment unique, different than other assessments, because then we bring all these aspects of ethics, and environment into the supply chain. So we'll be looking into all of your supply chain processes, plan, source, make, deliver, and return, how you do them in light of the triple bottom line. In other words, do you do them in an efficient way, generating value, profit, and efficiency? Do you do those processes respecting the environment? And do you do those processes respecting the people and the communities you operate in? So think about mode optimization. So one of the questions from the assessment, if you take into consideration when you do your modal optimization, the amount of GHG gases that will be emitting, or it's just cost and speed. So it's kind of unlearning, like our friend Douglas Kent like to say, and it's on his book, it's about unlearning the things that we did in the past. It's not just about the cheapest, the fastest, just the most efficient. It's the one that delivers value, profit, while respecting the people and the planet. So we need to learn how to embed these two variables when we think about sustainability into supply chain processes. So doing the assessment, we will examine all of these aspects: lean planning, network optimization, your S&OP process, under sourcing, responsible sourcing, total cost to serve, supply diversity. Then we talk about lean manufacturing into make and transform, waste management and disposal, and then the transportation part, transportation optimization, your warehousing, returns management. So I think this is really what differentiates. And we talk about how are we under sustainability in the supply chain. I think this is where you get a good, even if it's a 10,000 view, it will give you indications of the state of your supply chain sustainability. So for you to know, so all of these assessments, they're graded from 1 to 5, 1 being a reactive supply chain, 5 is an orchestrated. When we talk about sustainability, a level 1 supply chain is a supply chain that has a certain level of awareness in sustainability, and is viewed as a cost. So there is not much room for it because it's viewed as a cost. A level 2 supply chain is where you start seeing a minimum legal requirement. So it just does sustainability the minimum just to meet the legal requirements. A level 3, it's at the early stages of realizing that, yes, there may be a ROI, there are return on investment in sustainability. There could be operational efficiencies increasing, savings, and risk reduction. So this is a level 3. A level 4 is actually it's the beginning of the mandate, what we're talking about, right? The sustainability mandate within companies. So it is where sustainability is already integrating to the core strategy and operations. It is there already and it's in development. And the level 5, which is the most mature sustainability level, is where sustainability is embedded across the entire supply chain. It is the company is actively active with industry partners, with government. It is a thought leader. It really is moving the needle into sustainability. So these are one of those companies that we see, rarely seen. Sorry.
Fernanda, would you highlight this assessment is done on complementary by us as partners with ASCM?
Yes.
So someone who's attendees wants to have this because it's an assessment which we guided and we can help them and give them benchmark.
Exactly. This is an assessment that is performed. So ASCM provides the link, and I'll have the how-tos more at the end. So it is an assessment that is performed. The ASCM has the backend, the data would generate the dashboard, the unique link for you to go, but it is facilitated by a partner. Yes, absolutely. And it is for you to leverage. So this is the way of helping out everyone getting out of inertia. This is an example of an assessment question for, this is the very first question, lean planning. So we prompt a question, please select which option best describes your supply chain lean plan, and you'll be seeing 5 options and you select which one. So the first question option is always the one with the least, with the lowest maturity level. The last one, always the one with the highest maturity level. So then you see where you are and you choose it. And each response has a score. So if you say, oh, I have no lean plan on my organization, then I'm a level 1, I have no maturity. And then it keeps, recording. There are 30 questions overall. Each question covers each one of these aspects, and we'll have a dashboard with that evaluation. At the end, you get a result. So you'll be seeing how you are in each of those pillars of the triple bottom line. You have an overall score. This company had a 1.8, was very low maturity into the supply chain. They were a 1.4 into the environment, 2 in ethics, and they were a little bit higher in maturity on the process excellence part of it. This is an example of the type of results that we're able to drag. So you'll be seeing results of how we are in the plan, in source, in deliver and fulfill. So you have a score in each of those areas. And what it does is that will help you know where you are, where to start, what are your lowest maturity levels. So this is just, a picture that will be your roadmap on what are improvements, what is next, at least give you a baseline for it. And if you want to take this assessment back to Shireen's point, you can scan the QR code and you'll be having that presentation as well. It's a simple link. I will get the registration, we'll generate a unique code for you, we'll share, and we'll probably be working with Shireen to go back to you and to start doing the assessment if this is what you're looking for. And Shireen will have also the visibility over the people that are taking these assessments. So feel free to register. It has no cost. I think it's a great way to start engaging, to know where you are. You don't know what you don't know. So I've seen a lot of aha moments coming out of when we do these assessments overall of things that people didn't realize, and maybe the small things that can make a change in your plans and sustainability in the supply chain. And also before I finalize, also everything starts with education, right? As a supply chain professional association, we will not move away from education in sustainability. And we do have a course called Building a Sustainable Supply Chain, Best Practice and Solutions. Symbios is also authorized to deliver that class. It is for supply chain professionals or for sustainability strategists. And the key objectives are for you to learn the key sustainability concepts and how they apply to supply chains, not just the concept itself. It's the concept applied to your supply chain context. How to use the sustainability standards. We have, and I'll put that on a link as well. So we have a sustainability standard. It comprehends the triple bottom line as well. It's super comprehensive, and you know what's in there and how to use it to improve your supply chain. And then the third learning objective is how to apply those concepts, right? Because it doesn't do much for you just to know the theory. So how do you apply them? One of the exercises we have in the class is an actual assessment of a supply chain. It could be your supply chain, could be a fictitious one, but everyone in the class will be performing a sustainability assessment, either in an imaginary supply chain or your supply chain, but we want to make sure that the participants know how to assess, how to use the tool, and how to apply the sustainability concepts under their supply chain. So Shireen may have more information on this when she will be offering the next class, but this is also available to you. And I wanted to finish up my presentation with this image. This was also brought up, and I thought it was super interesting, and I think that relates to what we try to accomplish. So this house, fortunately, was one of the houses that survived the recent Los Angeles burnings, the fire. And we can observe that this house, stood still, even though the 2 houses next to her were totally destroyed and burned without, the trees, the vegetation around. And, of course, we can all draw many conclusions out of that picture. Yes, the guy was super planned. He built ahead of what was happening. He built, he built a resilient house, like we want to have our resilient supply chains. But what caught my attention was not the big things, because it's hard for you to rebuild a house once you're living in, and we recognize this is the same with supply chains. It's hard to rebuild a full supply chain once you have it already up and running. And we know this is the challenge, and this is what surveys are showing us. But what caught my attention are the little things. Like you can see here, the bushes in front of the house, they were bushes specific to the fire. They didn't get burned. They're still there. The wood around the fence is a wood that was properly, was the right material that didn't get, all burned. It got there protected from the fire. So the little things, maybe the ceiling. So it's not about only rebuilding the full thing, which is what we eventually will need to do or we eventually want to do. But it's also about the little things that we're able to bring in to make things more sustainable. And this is the final message that I wanted to leave with you. What are the things that you could start from in your supply chain to look into? And I think the assessment is a great first way that we are offering. So I'll leave you with that reflection. Here is my email address. I'll open for questions right now. If you have any or comments or anything, and I'll stop sharing so that I can see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernanda, a lot.
Thanks, Shireen.
Fernanda, now it's, for example, in some countries like Saudi Arabia, countries and the companies who are applying for the capital market and doing IPO projects, they all need to have sustainability certification.
Yeah.
So it's becoming mandatory here. So is it happening all over the world that countries must have sustainability certification, sustainability program, sustainability strategy?
Yeah, and this came up on the survey, Shireen, when I showed, let me pop up here. It's the access to capital, the access to something that they want to be sustainable. And this is that data here. So this is true all over the world. I mean, companies that are more sustainable, they have access to other things, to government benefits, to incentives, to cheaper capital. And this is why Morgan Stanley put together this huge survey to show the impact of sustainability. Morgan Stanley is a financial company, right? So yes, so it is a trend. Let me put back this statistic. It's a good point because
but it's becoming here mandatory. It's becoming a requirement.
Not necessarily a requirement. It's not a requirement. Some yes, some it's not a requirement, but they will get a no from it. If you don't have it, you don't even pass the filter, the gate. So that depends.
But to go to,
But
yes,
it is a
I
global
agree
trend.
with you. Yes, it's a global trend. Okay. And I wanted to highlight this part of companies here who are raising funds, becoming in the public investment market, raising capital by going public. You cannot do it if you don't have sustainability strategy.
Exactly. That was clear on the Morgan Stanley. One of the top on the top things is that they want to do it because it also reflects on how they're able to reach out to funding, to credit, and to be credentialed to work in certain places. And again, this is one of those things that are not really broadcasted. People tend to want to work with companies that are more sustainable, not only from the consumer standpoint, but also in a business-to-business relationship.
Agree. Fully agree.
Yeah. Questions, comments?
Yeah, I think so. People are just applauding for you.
That's good. Yeah. I know it's a lot to digest, but I really want to leave a positive note that it's possible to start, not to shy away. We all recognize as professionals and as individuals in the society that it has to be something to be done about sustainability. So, I mean, there are tools out there. We created the sustainability assessment to be a way to help professionals, to help companies get started somehow. This is why it's there. It's free. We wanted to use it. So don't shy away. It's about a 2 to 3 hours investment of your time, but it will open a can of worms of things that you know that you don't know. Who knows? The little things that you put back in your supply chain will be the things that may make a big difference in the future. So I wanted really to leave that thought of encouragement, not to shy away, not to think it's too big of a problem, not to think that no one talks about sustainability anymore. And I think these two surveys were super encouraging to come out, first because, it's even the Morgan Stanley one, it's a robust survey with hundreds of companies globally, with a zoom into the Middle East, North Africa region. So I think it has relevancy to show where we are, that yes, it is important. Yes, companies are looking for it, for having access to capital. And ours says, yes, it's hard to do, it's hard to start, but we are here to try to help you get started somehow. So I wanted to leave with that positive note.
Okay. Yes, you always bring positive energy and great news. And I think, as you mentioned, yeah, as you mentioned, it's a lot of education is needed, and we need to learn to unlearn. So it's important.
Exactly. No one, I mean, if we think about the way, our generation of supply chain were trained, I mean, we never took into consideration none of the environmental, social variables when making a supply chain important decision in transportation, in network design, in product design. So I mean, we need to, to relearn on how to do these things differently now. And I know it's a big ask, but I mean, if we look into the future generations, we can't move away from this. It's there to stay.
Exactly. Someone is asking you a question, what about sustainable supply chain in the construction field? Any topics about that?
Yes. Yeah, so more and more, the LEED certification, looking to constructions that, will use renewable, the types of materials. We've seen, even, companies that are building their manufacturing plant, they want to build warehouses and manufacturing plants with the certificates of sustainability. So it is a big field as well, because when these companies, they report on their scope emissions, the way they were constructed, the way they consume energy, the materials that are on their plant, all of these will go into their scope 1 and 2 emissions. So companies are looking into this as well. It's a big thing. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. There are many certs. Well, not many. LEEDs is the common certification for sustainable buildings. Yeah. And we'll be seeing more and more, especially when we talk about growing from new, starting from scratch after the fire. Everyone will want to construct from the right place, right? Doing this right. It's easier than you try to reorganize to it afterwards. So lots of these things in terms of water consumption, energy consumption, the materials that are used, everything already built into the plan for those new warehouses, new manufacturing plants. The usage of renewables as well. So all of these are embedded on the plan. Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to thank you and thank everyone who joined us today. Thank you for the great knowledge, and we appreciate that you will share with us the presentation. Thank you very much. People are giving you hearts and applauding for you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. A pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite, Shireen. So count with us moving forward. Count with Symbios moving forward. We're together on this journey. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen.
Your Saturday. Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.